Good morning, welcome back ladies, gents and Pikachus to another preachy video from me. We're going to start with the very earliest passages of the New Testament, Matthew chapter 2. And a little bit about chapter 1, but we're going to be reading chapter 2. So the reason I feel like this is an important one to do is because of the current political obsession, and it is an obsession, with Palestine and Gaza. So the first thing we want to keep in mind is the original manuscripts which make the Bible have various mentions of Gaza, no mention of Palestine, oddly enough. So if you're a Christian and you believe this to be God-breathed scripture, then you also believe that Palestine was not a thing during the writing of this document. And the Quran has zero mentions of Palestine or Gaza, so you'd think since Gaza was so important to the manifestation of the Nation of Islam, that it would be mentioned even once in their most holy testament, the Testament of Allah. But it isn't, it doesn't even get a single word mentioned, so that's how we know from the 9th century AD, when the Quran was actually written, Palestine and Gaza were not Islamic at all. And actually, when we refer to our God-breathed scripture, the Holy Bible, Matthew chapter 1 is a long list of Israel's kings and prophets, and the reason that's in there as the first book of the New Testament, Matthew is confirming what we know from the Old Testament to be true of this book as well. So it's all one testament, Old and New. It's all the testament of God, and throughout the entirety of the Old and New Testament, Gaza is a contested Israeli territory. It's never an Islam territory. I mean, Islam doesn't even exist in this book, but when Islam starts to exist, then it starts to try to claim that Gaza is part of the Nation of Islam, when we know, if we believe this, it is an Israeli territory. So with that in mind, let's go to Matthew chapter 2. Chapter 2. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, i.e. the land of Jews, that's what Judea means. Jude means, Yehuda is Jews, and the land of is Ia. So Judea is the land of Jews. Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod. Behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. So you've got Jerusalem here, north, east, south, west. What's east of Jerusalem is Judea, which is now called the West Bank. So straight away we know calling it the West Bank is anti-Christian because it is invalidating what Matthew 2 writes. If it's the West, then Herod's guys cannot have come east in order to go there. They would have had to have come west to go there, which means Herod's wise men, the three kings, started in what is now Jordan and travelled west to get to Bethlehem, because Bethlehem's not moved. We know Bethlehem is still in the same place, even though now it is also contested. Muslims are trying to claim Bethlehem. If we believe that our Bible is God-breathed scripture, I certainly do, Christians certainly do. If you believe that this is God-breathed scripture, then we know from Matthew chapter 2, Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king. Behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. So, what is west and east? West of Jerusalem, where these guys came from, is Gaza. So that's how we know Gaza back then was a principality of Israel and was ruled over by Herod and his kings, the different kings of the provinces who all swore loyalty to Herod. Herod actually was in if you go sort of south, then you've got the Dead Sea in between where the edge of Israel and the beginning of what is now sort of Yemeni, Saudi Arabia area. The Dead Sea, the coastal part of it, was where King Herod's main palace was, right? So he's down there, and he sent word to his kings in Gaza. Kings in Gaza travel east because this Jesus guy is about to be born, and Herod wants to get rid of him because he is prophesied in the Old Testament to be king of the Jews. So if you're King Herod, who is the king of the Jews, and then this guy Jesus is about to be born, and he's the prophesied king of the Jews, What do you think that means for Herod's status as king of the Jews? It means he's no longer the king of the Jews, he's just some washed up false king. Now he's a smart fella, not a fart smeller. So sorry, I couldn't resist. So Herod sends his guys east from Jerusalem, or to Jerusalem, sorry, and then he wants to send them to Bethlehem to find out where is this Jesus guy going to be born so that he can get rid of him. That's Herod's plan. Get rid of Jesus, king of the Jews, so that he can remain in that position himself of being Herod, king of the Jews. So we know Herod's not a good guy. We don't know about his kings that he's sending. They may be good guys, they may not be good guys. We don't know. Let's see what Matthew 2 has to say. So much densely packed information in here. We're literally at verse 2, and we've already got like 6 minutes of background. So let's continue. Chapter 2, verse 2. Saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and we are come to worship him." Again, we have more contextual information that Herod's kings coming from Gaza are looking to the east, past Jerusalem, and above Jerusalem they see his star. The star of Jesus is up in the sky, letting them know this place below the star is where Jesus will be born. And we will find out in later passages which we're going to read now, the place he's born is Bethlehem, as the prophecy has suggested it would be. And they're going to travel there to see this wondrous event of the King of the Jews, the Messiah, the Son of God, Jesus Christ, being born in a manger in Bethlehem. No mention of Islam, because they don't exist yet. And that means Bethlehem, Gaza and Jerusalem are all 100% Israel territory at this point, according to our Bible. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Gaza Palestinian supporters. This says you are a liar. And I believe this. Anyway, let's carry on before I get sidetracked. Verse number 3. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all his chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. So Herod collects his wisest priests and scribes, the guys that write down all the Bible scripts and interpret them to the people, his top judges and priests, collects them all in a room and says, where is this Jesus guy going to be born? I need to know. And they know the reason Herod wants to know is because he actually intends to send assassins to get rid of this Jesus guy to stop him from becoming the prophesied king of the Jews. Like, he doesn't want that to happen because it just means he's on the scrap heap. 6. And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, art not the least amongst the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. And that qualifies and confirms it. The people living in Gaza, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, the surrounding area, and also where the Red Sea is Israel. Jews are living in that whole area. No mention of the Ishmaelites, who later become the Muslims. No mention of the Hagarenes, which is also the Ishmaelites who become the Muslims. The entire area is Israel, populated by Jews, ruled by Jews, and the kings are Herod and the guys he's about to send, who are his southern kings. Incidentally, the reason why Jerusalem are terrified of this Herod guy is because he is not a very nice man. He's a bad king, and they know when he gets angry, he's going to punish the people. And that's what they know. They know this Jesus guy, King of the Jews, who's prophesied, he's going to be born. The scriptures that their whole religion is based on, remember, says that. And people forget this. The Old Testament and the New Testament is 100% written by Jews. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. These guys are Jewish ethnicity. People born of Jewish ethnicity who used to be rabbis or used to be worshippers of the rabbinical tradition, the Jewish faith. Even the ones who were Greek started out cutting their teeth on Old Testament Jewish scriptures, and then they were converted when Christ arrived. So that means before about 16 AD, they were Jews. And then they converted when they saw Christ. Much like myself, when you see Christ in the person and you lay eyes on him, you know this guy is God. There is no doubt within you. You'll fall to your knees like I did and you will say, "Oh my God, you're him!" And it will be him. So that's where we got up to so far. The three kings have gone to follow the star to Bethlehem to find Jesus because Herod's sending them as assassins to get rid of this guy so that he cannot become the prophesied king of the Jews. And in doing so, Herod incurred the wrath of God, even though we haven't read about that yet. So that's where we're up to. And the people of Jerusalem are terrified because they think Herod's going to punish us now, isn't he? You know, he has a history of doing that. He's probably going to do that again. 7. Then Herod, when he had privily, which means if he'd spoken to his wise men, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star had appeared. So he's got his priests, his scribes, his top scientists, if you like. He's got his government panel of smart guys, and he's saying, right, where is Bethlehem? Where is this star? Where did it appear? Where's it going? We need to know exactly the location of Jesus' birth so that we can be there to snuff him out right at the second when he is born. We cannot allow for this Jesus guy to exist. That's Herod. 8. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for this young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again that I may come and worship him also. But they know that he's lying. So even though the three kings go, follow the star, find Bethlehem, they want to worship Jesus. They bring him gifts. They definitely want to worship him. They don't want to get rid of him. Herod has told them, let me know where he is. I just want to worship him too. Just in case there's any fealty towards Jesus, he's lying to them and saying, I just want to worship Jesus. I definitely don't want to murder him. Oh, why would I want to do that? I'm King Herod. But they are not stupid. As we read, they're his top guys, top priests and scribes. They're not stupid people. They know Herod has a bad intention for baby Jesus. So even though they're going to go and worship him, they have no intention of letting Herod know when they have located him. And that's where the anger towards Jerusalem is going to come in. The people know what this guy's like. So do the scribes and priests. Unfortunately, that's just the guy he is. 9. When they had departed the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. So God has no illusions as to what's going on here. He knows the star is going to lead these three kings to the manger where baby Jesus is about to be born. And Herod has sent these guys. But also that these guys are not going to report back accurately to Herod because they will worship Jesus. So only Herod is the only guy in this whole story that doesn't want to worship Jesus. And it's because he's envious. He is jealous of being not the prophesied king of the Jews and being shoved out the way by the one who is the prophesied king of the Jews, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. 10. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, and myrrh, and frankincense. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. So they finally arrive. These three kings with their gold and their myrrh and their frankincense, which are by all accounts extremely expensive luxuries, which virtually nobody would be able to afford, let alone just give away to some baby. The three kings arrive and they immediately assess that this is the prophesied king of the Jews. This ain't no fake. This is Jesus Christ. This is Jesus the Christ. And they worship him. And his mother is there called Mary. And they receive a dream vision from God to say, don't return to Herod. Because if you don't tell Herod where Jesus is, and we know you're not going to do that, Herod will off with your head, you're dead, get rid of you. So for the sake of your safety, three kings sent by Herod, don't return to your country the same way you came back to it. Hide for a while and then sneak back in a disguise so that Herod doesn't know. That's what's going on here. God's protecting the three kings because they worship Jesus and protecting them from the rage of King Herod, who's going to figure out pretty soon that he has been swindled. 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee to Egypt. And be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. And that's where we're going to end today's reading. So, this is what we've got so far. This is what we know factually from Matthew chapter 2. Bullet points. First bullet point. Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea. Bethlehem is in Judea. Judea is the Jews. Israel doesn't belong to Muslims, Ishmaelites, or Philistines. They're not even in here yet. So, if we are Christians, we know Gaza, Bethlehem, the Red Sea territories, what is now called the West Bank, should be called Judea and is the land of the King of the Jews. So Israel is all one territory, and Jesus is now the king of that territory since he was born in the manger. This is certified by the fact that the three kings followed a star from Gaza through Jerusalem to Bethlehem to get there. And the second they saw eyes on this child, they fell down and worshipped him. So he's not just any child. He's not just any king. They're kings. And they are worshipping a baby because they recognize this baby. It's not just any old baby. This is Jesus the Christ, the prophesied King of the Jews, King of Kings, the Lord. And they worship him, they give him gold, frankincense, myrrh. And then God says to them, don't go back home yet, go and hide. And then says to Joseph, take Mary and this child and flee to Egypt to escape the rage of Herod, who's going to be tracking you down to try and kill you along with the kings. Because he's going to realise his little plan to get rid of Jesus, it didn't work. God made sure it didn't work. And the three kings made sure it didn't work. And now they've fled to Egypt. And the last thing it says is, when they had departed, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. So the angel of the Lord makes another appearance. Now we know the theophanies of Jesus Christ, the angel of the Lord being one of, is a thing that happens throughout the Old and New Testament. So we know even though Jesus is born of a human body and is a baby in form, he can still appear as the angel of the Lord to make sure these prophecies happen, to guide his sheep, his flock. And that's what he does with the three kings, telling them to escape. And even with Joseph and Mary. Joseph and Mary wouldn't have known to do that. They're not going to go anywhere. They've just seen Mary's just had a baby. She's not going to be wanting to just travel off to Egypt straight away. But the angel of the Lord appears to Joseph and says, right, collect your things, off you go to Egypt for the sake of your own safety and to make sure that Jesus is safe as well. So we can see God's plan developing there. God's plan is to be born as a human, not to be assassinated by Herod, for his first three worshippers, the three kings that came from Gaza, to also be shepherded away to safety, and for Herod to be completely defeated by his own men and a baby. And that's exactly what we see here. So, that's the end of the reading. I would highly advise you, if you have time, go and read Matthew chapter 2 yourself. The KJV version is the one that I would recommend, but whatever Bible you've got, you can read that one. And you will see just how smart this guy is. Obviously, the Lord is a very intelligent chap. So even though he's just been born on earth in a human body as a baby, he's already appearing as the angel of the Lord to shepherd his people in the right direction, to get them to safety in Egypt, and to get them away from the furious rage of King Herod, who we will find out doesn't meet a particularly pleasant fate at the end of the book of Matthew. But that's for a future episode. We'll go through that in future. So that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something. God bless you all, and I'll see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now.